So I'm just trying to think. We talked about transitions,
Hard things, heavy things.
hard things, heavy things,
Not stopping ourselves.
not stopping ourselves, being pulled towards something, or maybe being nudged a little. Yeah.
Welcome back to In Residence. I'm Keith.
And I'm Laura.
Hey, Laura.
Hey, Keith.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Swell. We just got back from our trip to Green Bay.
We did.
It was kind of an anniversary trip, but was also a look for an apartment trip.
Yes. Yeah, kind of a job transition trip.
Yeah, for you.
Yes, for me.
So it was kind of a wild week. But yeah, we're back home, and it's the day we're recording. It's literally our wedding anniversary, 17 years.
It is.
I love you.
I love you too.
Hooray, we made it. So yeah, what do you want to talk about today?
So when we get to spend time together, just you and I, we tend to talk through and think through different things and similar things maybe, that we often talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But I often have a little notebook, a field notes in my purse, and try and capture the different things that we're talking about, because they just stand out. So there's a couple things that I have here as a concept. One of them is when you're doing something hard, that it's really easy to talk yourself out of it.
Right. Oh yeah, you brought that up. We were at like a little brewery, right?
We were.
And we're hanging out, and because it was in like an area that we were looking at an apartment for, and then somebody had given you a recommendation of like, oh, check out this place.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting there, and I don't know how you brought that up, but I was like, oh, that is almost verbatim a quote that a friend of mine online said that I wrote down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is really funny that you brought that up. We should talk about that. I remember now. And I'm laughing because I'm really good at talking myself out of action. And I'm really good at waiting and seeing. And you get to witness that constantly.
I do. I do.
Which is probably exhausting. It's probably as exhausting for you to watch the way I engage in the world sometimes when I'm in that state of delay, as it is exhausting for me when you're go, go, go.
Yes.
We're so similar, and yet we're so different. It's comical. And this is just another example of, oh my gosh, how do we do it?
There's a couple times, I won't name a specific time, but there was a few times where I was sitting there and I thought, you could simply just get up and do the thing that you're hemming and hawing about right now, and then it would be done. And you were probably like, this is a vacation. You could probably just relax a little bit.
Right.
And not chock full our days of all these things and tasks.
Yeah.
Not to put words in your mouth, but
right.
I want to balance it out there so it's not just me talking about things I notice about you.
Yeah. So what was on your mind there when you say again what you wrote down?
The thing I wrote down was, when you are doing something, it is easy to talk yourself out of it. Because we were talking about my career transition.
Yeah.
And it's something different than you and I have ever done before. I mean, I've transitioned, but we haven't moved for a career.
Yeah, we haven't switched our residence.
In a long time.
Yeah.
If I think about it too much, even with my sense of adventure and this is so exciting, it does get a little like, whoa. Yeah,
the cons can stack up against the pros, and we can talk ourselves out of it.
Right.
But we didn't. I can't believe we didn't talk ourselves out of it.
Even when we were sitting there going through the paperwork for our new place.
Yeah.
After we did it, I thought, oh, whoa, okay.
It's kind of like,
we did that. We did that.
What have you done?
It was kind of, I kept thinking, I'm like, did we make the right decision?
Yeah.
Are we on the right track? Well, we can't really go back now. Well, I mean, I guess anything could probably be undone, but
yeah,
I don't know why I'm saying that. I don't want to undo it.
Well, it's kind of, we've mentioned that us saying yes to this has its own challenges, but it has just as many or more opportunities and possibility.
Oh, and so much excitement.
For you.
For me.
You get excited, I get anxious. and when
Sure.
when I get excited, you maybe get anxious. We kind of oscillate, and sometimes it syncs up, and sometimes we're there to balance each other out and pull each other back to the middle. But I'm glad we didn't talk ourselves out of it.
Right.
Because that would close so many doors. This is just an opportunity to explore a bunch of different rooms, literally and figuratively, right? Metaphorically. Right. We're going to have a new place out there and just a lot of potential.
Right.
Which I keep going back and forth to, of that's exciting and scary at the same time.
Yeah. The whole trip, you and I went in between that excitement, that opportunity mindset, and then whoa, this is a little heavy too.
Yeah.
And one thing I wrote down is it's heavy because it's important.
Yeah, I think I said that.
You did.
I think you're like, I was talking, and then all of a sudden you like started writing down. I'm like, ooh, I said something good.
Like, I'm gonna write that down.
Like, okay. Yeah. You see the things that weigh on me, it's because it's important. Somebody might say, like, anything worth having is worth like fighting for, or you have to struggle a little bit to get the things that are good or whatever. Like, there's some kind of saying like that. But yeah, now it was super real this week. Whereas leading up, the couple months leading up to this, I've been kind of like, well, it's, we're just I was just kind of going with the flow because there weren't a whole lot of tangibles. It was just the what ifs. But the closer it got, I'm like, okay, it's getting more real. I'm starting to feel this more. And it's literally like almost like a physical, like a weight blanket coming on me a little bit.
Mm.
And it didn't feel like I didn't feel it didn't feel daunting, but all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I can physically feel that I'm reacting to our decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you're literally touring apartments,
yeah,
that's real versus thinking about what it might be like to have a new place somewhere. I've said, I know I'm not 100% sure what's coming, and I'm kind of kidding myself that it's going to be super easy, but it feels like it's going okay, like a month and a half ago. And now it was like, yeah, this is real. We're transitioning. We're going to be shifting and pivoting, and all these different contortions of those things are going to start happening. And I'm just got to remind myself to use all the tools that are available to process that, so that I don't feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
That was a ramble. Sorry.
No, but I think it's a good point, because I've noticed just the last couple days, and I've been thinking about this. I've noticed you feel a little heavier emotionally.
Oh yeah.
And I think you're working through where I've felt heavy about this decision too, but I'm at the point where I'm such a future looking person that I've moved into this like possibilities, excitement, we're going to do this sort of framework.
Yeah. So I think the reason that happened or happens with me, I think it's exacerbated by me being out of my comfort zone. We were away figuring out how we were going to be away from what I know. So I didn't have all of my comforts and my habits that I have when we're here. I have my routines. And so they were just a little different. We were together the whole time. You weren't away at work all day. So just little things like that. Yeah. And it's kind of like, oh, wow. Like I need to notice that and be okay with it. And so I acknowledge it. And when I acknowledge it, it's not to be like I think sometimes it comes off when I say things like, I'm out of my element and this is a little overwhelming, and it comes out like, this is overwhelming and I really hate it, is how you interpret it.
Yes.
And I have to remind myself of like being like, no. I'm simply noticing something. I want to say it out loud so that it's not swirling in my head. It takes a little more effort because I know what I mean, but my words don't always have the same intonation, inflection, or maybe I just used a word that means something different to you.
Sure.
You know?
That makes sense.
Because that happens to me too. I hear a certain word, it has a certain connotation to me. If I hear a certain tone, even if it wasn't the intent, I take it a certain way, right? And so we were dealing with that a little bit this week.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I was quite aware until I was a little far down, feeling a little overwhelmed.
Yep.
You would think I would know by now. Like, I can identify it here in hindsight. Like, oh, I was really out of my comfort zone while I was dealing with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even that. I wasn't super uncomfortable, or I don't think I quite realized how uncomfortable the shifting and solidifying some of these changes were. So I guess it probably was discomfort.
Yeah. Did you feel that way when we were looking at new places? Or was it more after, as you had time to reflect?
It was a lot to take in, but I don't think it was too much. It would have been if we hadn't found the place that we found.
That is true.
Because it would have been
it's going to be a really great place.
It was a really easy decision to say this place.
It was. You and I both, I think we went to lunch and we're like, okay.
Like, we gotta
jump on this.
We should maybe email them right now before our food even gets to the table.
Yeah.
And start the process. Because everything else felt like it was going to be a little bit more of a compromise than we wanted for it to suit us.
Right, exactly.
And our family out there.
Yeah.
And so that going well, I think that excitement maybe had me forget a little bit or cover up that I was still going through a transition.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of snuck up on me again. Plus, we were away for a while, and that's just how I am.
Yeah.
Rambling about myself and like, oh, Keith is used to his routine at home.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm not that bad. It's just that I have to identify it, because me simply saying, oh, I'm in a different space, and how do I create my own space, even though it's somewhere else?
Mm-hmm.
I just need to know that, and then everything's okay. It's not like when we didn't have something to do, I wasn't like, we can't go anywhere. We're going to sit here and I'm going to cocoon. It was like, hey, where should we go eat? Let's get some lunch here. And then maybe we'll come back and we'll hang out for a little bit and then we'll go there. Thought it worked out all right.
Think so.
It still is. All this stuff, it's just a lot still.
It is. And once we get things set, I think it'll get better and better.
Yeah. Because it doesn't feel overbearing right now.
Mm-mm.
But I have a feeling that there's going to be hills and valleys. It's just going to keep oscillating a little bit with but one step at a time. We're gonna get over the top.
Yep.
And we're gonna recuperate, and then we're gonna try climbing another little mountain. And
yeah. Coming back to the idea of it feels heavy because it's important. When I say that, I also don't want to be misunderstood that a heavy feeling means that there isn't excitement or happiness there either.
Yeah.
I think the heaviness comes from the pressure that I'm also putting on myself related to this. You're making a shift. You're really excited. And I want to make sure that this is a good decision for the family and is going to add to what we do and how we are.
Yeah, like this has the potential to be a force multiplier of
right.
And launching us in a direction we're seeking to go.
Yeah.
Lifting heavy things is kind of fun.
You think it's fun. A lot of people think it's fun.
Yeah. Doing some deadlifts, but within reason. I don't need to risk injury to lift super heavy. There's a medium for me to lift heavy, feel that stress in a positive way and that accomplishment, and then still come back and recuperate and recover and take care of myself. The reason I'm talking about it is because it's just like with work and how people burn out and they overdo it because they feel all that pressure to perform. It's finding the right balance. And we were kind of talking about that yesterday and maybe this morning. That's the work. Or like me, if I'm feeling heavy because we're making some life changes and some tough choices, I need to balance that out with taking care of myself, drinking water, some simple things.
Mm-hmm.
It can be super simple. It doesn't have, like for me, it doesn't have to be, I need to go to the spa and have a spa day. If that's somebody's jam, like you really get a lot out of going
Mm-hmm.
somewhere and pampering yourself in that way.
Yeah.
It's all about what works for you. What helps you feel taken care of. That's what comes up with me when we're talking about, these heavy things. Like you said, heavy doesn't have to mean bad. Like I can take like a sense of accomplishment from progressively doing harder things. Because I think heavy and hard are kind of synonymous here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a good point, because we can do hard things.
Yeah, and you can build up to it, right? Like,
yeah, build up.
Like
to
I'm not going to go like learning a song, right? Like, because I don't have to talk about weightlifting all the time, because I'm really not that much of like a in the weight room all the time. But like trying to learn a really hard piece when you've never played a simple piece, it's like you're set. Don't trick yourself into failing and then getting down on yourself, and then you don't want to try again. It's like setting expectations or tempering expectations and realizing that it can take more time than we think.
Right. So something that's coming into my mind is a moment that happened at work in the last couple weeks, not while we were on vacation, but before that.
Yeah.
I had the I'll say it was really difficult. It was sad and bittersweet of telling everyone at my current work that I'd be transitioning to a new position. Having that conversation with people, because I genuinely care about the people that I do work with. So having that conversation was really draining, and it was hard. It was heavy. During one of those conversations, one of my colleagues said to me, "Well, it sounds like you're being pulled and drawn to something, and it's always better to be pulled towards something than pushed out of something."
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a I don't know if it's a sage comment, but a wisdom. It was a wise comment.
Yeah.
Of thinking it's better to be pulled towards something than pushed. But I've thought about that because I do feel pulled to this new opportunity, even though it's going to create and shift and shape how we as a family connect and live, because it's a new city, right?
Yeah.
It's a new role. It's going to be different dynamics. And, but I think that's really powerful, that idea of being pulled towards something. As we're talking now, I'm wondering if I'm feeling pulled, do you feel pushed? Or are you kind of getting pulled with me? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think I'm always kind of being pulled along with you.
Okay.
Like I'm kind of caught up in your fervor a lot of the time. and so that in a way that is a way for me to be off the hook and something that I sink into, because if you're making all the decisions, then it's all on you, right?
Yeah.
A little bit.
I challenge you on that though.
Yeah.
So I'm like, nope, I'm not making this decision alone.
Yeah.
It's an us decision.
Not this decision. No.
Yeah,
like I'm talking about like silly little things. And I've said, so to speak to that, this decision, I'm always looking for how can I best support you in going where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a no-brainer. Like, and I've asked you several times through this process, something to the effect of, do you want this? And you're like, yeah, I do. And I'm like, okay, that's all I need to hear. You get that role, we'll make it work.
Yeah.
When you're talking about the push and pull, it's for me, I'm like, oh, it's really good to work both of those muscles. You do pushing exercises and you do pulling exercises. It's really good. It balances it out, right? So that's just a silly little thought in my head. But I agree with you with being pulled towards something. What am I gravitating towards? What do I spend my time on? Those are things I ask myself. And like, question you've asked me off and on or the last couple days is, what does a good day look like for you? And I think we've talked about that.
Mm-hmm. You used to journal about that.
I tried.
What would make today great?
Yeah. So I need to keep putting that back in to my routine of what would make today great. What would make the week great? Because it helps me have agency over what am I aiming at.
Mm-hmm.
So asking yourself, what is pulling me towards it? I would say music, playing guitar, listening to more, maybe making my own music, writing, whatever the things are. Obviously, now that we're talking about it, I can't think of them. But not fighting the things that are pulling me.
Yeah.
Like what? Like go with the flow. Like go with the flow. So like if if I feel like doing X, Y, or Z right now, why would I resist that?
Right.
I don't know.
You're making me remember just this past week. You were giving me a hug and you were going to lift me up. And I just did what the kids did when they were little. I just did dead weight.
Just dead weight. And I'm like,
and I was don't lift me.
I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah. Oh, like trying to get child 2 in his car seat when he was like 2 years old.
Oh, he was stiff as a board.
Stiff as a board, stronger than me. I'm like, dude, I outweigh you by over 200 pounds. How is he that strong? And I'm like, that was a window into things to come.
He's strong-willed.
Yes.
Strong-willed.
Yes. I wonder where he gets that from.
You?
Laura. I don't know about that.
Both of us, maybe?
Yeah.
Is that what it was? Is that the consensus?
We both got the fire in us sometimes.
Yes. So I guess as you're talking through, it's how do you kind of work around that, knowing that you're like, there's a part of you when you feel pulled towards something that you kind of, in a way, are like, oop, I'm just going to
shy away from it,
dead weight, kind of make it a little more difficult to do it for yourself.
It's repetitions of, I think the more I ask myself, what do I want? Or what do I want to do today? Or it could even be like, what do I want to do this hour? Whatever scale works best.
Yeah.
For somebody, try it. Because maybe it's easy to say, okay, by the end of the week, I want to go through that box, right? So like moving, right? Like when we moved into this house, how many months or years did it take to open every single box that we move?
Oh, I probably still have a box. Maybe.
Yeah. It might have been opened, but then closed back up and put to the back of a closet, right?
Yeah.
So say that's your goal is I want to unpack everything. If it's feeling overwhelming or daunting, it's okay, I'm going to do one box a week, whatever.
Yeah.
But if I can't say what I want, how am I going to get what I want?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm too afraid to say out loud that I want a new job or I want a new apartment, how am I ever going to get it if I can't even write it down to myself? If I just sit and spin in my head and stop myself before I start.
Yep.
But these things, they're cycles. And it's going to come back up. Once I think I've got it all figured out, and I'm not going to let myself stop myself. I'm not going to let me stop me, right? And then all of a sudden, 3 months later, I'm stopping myself again. So I just got to come back and use the things I know help me get out of that. That's how I think about, if I want something, I need to be able to identify it, or else I'm just going to stagnate. I don't know if that answered anything.
It did. I think I'm sitting because you often are thinking a lot in your head, right?
Yeah.
You've got a lot going on. And there was, I don't know if you have it down here, but your, from Field Notes, a poster. Is that down here?
Oh, yeah.
There was something I wanted to ask you about. Sorry, I didn't. Yeah.
I haven't looked at it in a while. But yeah, I got the little mini posters from, I think, the Hatch prints or something.
So this is the one that stood out to me because I think sometimes we can overthink and overprocess. Even with my career transition, right? You can overthink and overprocess. Even if you're being pulled towards something, you can quickly talk yourself out of something and be like, oh, okay, I'm being pulled, I'm passionate, I want to do this. But what if XYZ
Yep.
or that, or what would so-and-so think? Right? Like all those things.
Yeah, we're much more comfortable with what we know, even if it's not what we want.
Yeah.
Than the unknown and the uncertainty. Like we talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
But it
always comes up.
It's always coming up.
So the thing that stood out on this poster from the field notes is short and simple is always preferable to verbose and complicated. And then it says when it comes to creating posters and other printed material that must deliver a message very quickly in an environment that is full of distractions. And I know it's not exactly what we're talking about, but I'm thinking about this. Short and simple is always preferable to verbose and complicated, and how that oftentimes can be what our minds look like when we're working through that push and that pull and the pull and trying to like dig our feet in or resist. That when we have a lot of noise going on, it makes it more complicated. And I think there has been a couple times over the last couple of days that I've wanted to say to you, well, if you're passionate about that and you want to do it, could you simply just stop ruminating and just pick up a guitar and do it? You know, and that's too simple maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's useful or not, but I thought it kind of connects.
Yeah. I think a lot of, like, I write short and simple.
You do.
And I think that way a lot of the time. And the way I go about getting things done is short, simple, be concise, be accurate. Let's get it done. But then sometimes it's long, drawn out because I'm uncertain. And the voice in my head that's verbose and overcomplicates things is the part of me that's trying to keep me the same and stop me from changing. It's the resistance part.
Sure.
That's afraid of the uncertainty. And so a lot of what I try to do, like say with journaling, or when I talk about like how do I not get too high or too low, it's keeping it simple and grounding myself. And I don't always recognize that just because it's the loud part doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's right for me. I think that's a lot of what stops people from trying things is, I mean, we're programmed to be cautious about change because that's what keeps us safe.
Keeps us part of a social network.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, not standing out, not making waves, not disrupting the status quo, right? So that kind of comes up with that. But yeah, I mean that's I'm like, this is probably like why meditation and physical activity is such a powerful tool, because it's all about quieting your mind, or like physical activity helps quiet your mind because you're too busy to let the noisy stuff out. You have to concentrate on, you know, whether you're running or, you know, any kind of aerobic exercise or you know, weightlifting. Yeah, I think there's a part of me that knows just how to complicate things enough to stop me in my tracks and make, because of the way I like to overthink and analyze and not fail, right? And so I think that's it's tricky little part of me is, oh, this'll slow him down.
Oh,
you know?
Oh, I'm sure.
Have you thought about this, Keith? Oh, what about this?
Like offers up all these things.
Yeah.
And when it works, goes, oh, that one worked really good.
Yeah. Well, we're going to do that again.
We're going to do that again.
Yeah.
Rinse and repeat.
Because when I think I have a good idea, I bet one of my thoughts is like, well, that's a little simple and easy. Somebody said that or somebody already said that. Why should I say that?
Mm-hmm.
That's just something so-and-so said. I can't just repeat that. And then we were talking about that. Mm-hmm. We have like these good ideas, these things we've learned, but we learned it from somewhere. So, and I'm like, yeah, but that's what textbooks are too. Like,
right.
Like, not that we want to write a textbook, but like, that's what books are. Books are finding information and then translating it in your own words and seeing if it resonates with somebody. And so I need to do that in my head and with the outside world too, if I want to create connections or change.
Yeah, because you want to be able to take ideas and synthesize them and make them have your lens on them.
Yeah.
But we aren't going to plagiarize knowingly.
No.
We don't want to do that. But it's the same thing with art, right?
You steal like an artist.
Well, wasn't there, I'm trying to remember who said it, but just that there's not 100% original art. Everyone's been influenced by somebody.
Yeah.
Who said that?
I don't know. Google it, people.
I thought it was Rick Rubin. I don't know.
Tell us in the comments. No. I'm sure many people have said it.
In slightly different ways. So when we were going across the state to Green Bay, it's just a beautiful day. There were fluffy white clouds, blue skies, trees, a few things changing, not as many as we thought there might be.
Yeah.
But at one point you said to me, gosh, it's really a beautiful drive. Every turn, it looks like a Bob Ross painting.
Yeah.
Happy little clouds, happy little pine trees.
Some of the birch trees.
Yeah, some of the birch trees. I guess as we're going through this transition of our own, and we have this pull, or I have this pull towards something, and you're kind of coming along with me, right? For the ride.
I think I'm pushing you a little bit.
You are pushing me too. I think that's helpful. You're supporting me as I'm getting pulled.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a
teamwork.
Yeah, it's teamwork. But how do we keep some of that positive, like, I don't know if it's imagery or positive, looking for the good as we go through this process, even though we know some of it's going to be hard and heavy? Because that was just delightful for you to say, every turn just looks like a Bob Ross painting. I knew exactly what you meant. It just was really a joyful thought. So how do we do that?
Well, to elongate the Bob Ross thing, the point isn't to copy everything he's doing on the program. It's to make your own little scene. And that's what we're trying to do. So we're making our own story here.
Yeah, our own happy trees.
Yeah, and we can decide how many clouds are going to be in the sky, how many birds, It's when I forget that I have agency that the overwhelm can kick in.
Yeah.
If we don't communicate, right? Either one of us, that's when things get really hard, is like if you can't say it out loud.
Right.
So, and a lot of things are fixable. What if this was a bad decision, right? Well, we're making the decision because it feels like the right decision.
Yeah.
Just like we're pivoting in this direction, we can pivot back or on a different tangent.
Yeah.
So reminding myself of that, like, it's not binary. It's not this or that.
You're right. And we can shift and do a different path, and knowing that the path won't be perfect. I keep thinking, as you're talking, my mom, so she does rose mauling and paints, and she always says, as she's always painted, that if you make a mistake, if you just go over it the same way, it's going to highlight the mistake more and more. Or if you try and erase it and get it off of the painting, it's going to create a big, like, messy blob. So it's almost better to be like, okay, that wasn't quite right, but next time, or let me add a different scroll, or let me add some dots, or let me try and figure out what can this look like that isn't the perfect image on the paper that we thought it was going to be, but make it our own. In spite
improvise,
of that.
Right?
Yeah, and improvise a little bit.
Yeah.
and go with it.
Because that's all we're doing. We're improvising here.
Yeah. I will say, I don't think we've had to improvise like this, well, close to 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
I think I told you at one point I felt like a college student just getting her first job out of college, trying to find somewhere to stay.
Yeah. Not necessarily first, but first in a long time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I need to keep rambling, but we have a pretty extensive palette that we can use to make this what it's going to be, and a lot of it is exploring, and don't have to be so serious, or when I'm feeling so serious about something, how do we return back towards the middle? I've been saying that a lot, but I think it's helping with this transition of, okay, we spent some time flying high up here. Okay, how about we come back a little closer to the ground? We're not going to crash though. Like, we're just, we're going to get our bearings,
I like that. As we go through the next 3 weeks, what are you hoping to keep front of mind as we work through the transitions and the unknown and known, I suppose, right? Because it's both.
Yeah. I need to remember that I can do hard things. I can do more than I think. And at the same time, I need to take care of myself and create space to recover or heal from those hard things. Talking about burnout a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Tend to do that to ourselves. I'm always talking about, I can do more, I can do better, because that's where I need a little more of a push. I'm not always feeling the pull because of my overthinking, right? I'm not starting because I'm not sure if I'm going to do it right. But part of having the right amount of stress so that I can grow also means taking the time for rehab. Like I'm using kind of like these workout metaphors, but it's like you need to, you go out and you run a race, you also need to cool down.
Right.
Finding that balance is really important for me. I need to find active ways to move forward and active ways to recover. It's just something that I need to work on and create a practice around that. It's all about what works for you, right? Like, what makes a good day for me isn't going to make a good day for somebody else.
Right.
Because we have different wants and needs. And I'm still kind of figuring out what those are, because things are going to shift. But I know I'll be able to come up with a handful of things that'll help me do the hard things and the things I don't even know yet. I can be nimble. I can be flexible. It's been a while since I've had to be that way.
Yeah.
Had a set routine for several years. It got a little disrupted, more towards a more of doing less.
Yeah.
With 2020,
sure.
2022-ish here, that time period solidified some things that don't need to be part of my daily routine. I'm speaking generally because I think it applies to a lot of facets of my life. Like, how much can I get done in a day? Where am I going to stretch? Where am I literally going to get activity and work out more and move my body more? There's all these things. It's like, this is why I'm quiet, because all of this stuff swirls in my head.
But you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself.
Oh, it doesn't feel like pressure.
Okay.
Why do you think I'm putting pressure on myself?
Because it sounds like you're listing off a lot of things that you don't necessarily follow through with.
Oh, I'm talking about, these are things I want to give attention to.
Okay.
And I don't mean it to sound daunting.
It does sound daunting to me. Because I go back to that short and simple of, like, instead of kind of this, and it sounds like it works for you.
Does it?
I don't.
Question mark?
That's not mine to answer. But some of it is, I can't tell you how many times I've had thoughts of, I need to pay attention and think about X. But thinking about it isn't the same as doing it. Paying attention to it isn't always the same as doing it. It might be a first step. especially with working out, if I say, oh, I have to pay attention to that, it's better for me to simply be like, okay, you got back from a week vacation. Tomorrow morning, Monday morning, you have your workout routine waiting for you. And do you want to do it? No. Are you going to do it? Yes. But I'm not going to let my brain stop me by letting it have too much power over the thinking and paying attention to it. You know, it kind of goes back to that Mel Robbins 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just do it.
Yeah.
Or like Atomic Habits. Like when I'm home on a Monday, this is what I do on Monday. And I built that routine.
I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
I must just be using some words that are a little different than the way you think about it.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know.
Yeah. I want to make sure that you're not putting so much pressure on yourself by thinking of the stuff you need to do rather than just being like, you know what? Stop thinking, just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I need that. But I was trying to say, these are the things that I want to act on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's sounding different when you say it that way to me. Yeah. I don't know why. Maybe you said that the first time. I just didn't catch it.
Oh, no, probably didn't.
Yeah.
But that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Like, oh, these are the things. Like me paying attention means action. I just didn't have that one little part in there.
Okay. That makes more sense.
All right. Let's get out of here.
Do you have any recommendations this week?
I had a fun time building Lego while you were puzzling. So whatever your Lego is, spend a little time doing it.
I would recommend. I had a lot of fun spending the week with you. And
if you'd like to spend the week with Keith,
that's what I'm saying.
Send a self-addressed stamped envelope.
No,
to
that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
sign this waiver. No returns.
Oh gosh.
What are you saying?
What I was saying is that I enjoyed spending the week with you and being able to unplug for the most part and just be a couple. And that was fun. Even though we were bed shopping and looking at apartments and we hit a deer, it was still a lot of fun.
Yeah. I agree.
It's an adventure. Mm-hmm. I like it.
All right, let's get out of here.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Love you.
I love you.
What's going on? No, what's going on with you? Anything?
No, it's our anniversary.
Yeah.
I'm going to make some chili today and some lasagna for later. We're going to watch the Packers.
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
Watch one more game on their road to the Super Bowl.
Here's something else.